Vyas Media Network.
Okay, so you say your morality is like a product of what they have taught you, a lot of it.
100%.
Yeah. And why do you say that? Like, what do you feel? Why do you
Well,
feel it so strongly to even like mention it as such a specific point?
right. So I mentioned it specifically because ever since I was a kid, I was kind of told that like, oh, kosto sweet bacha cha, esto, like, they're been smiling, happy and stuff. I don't think I would have like had this personality or even like what I do just on a daily basis, like on like how I act and stuff without having this sense of morality that they instilled in me. Like, obviously there's just like the normal ones that everyone learns, like don't kill or don't whatever.
Yeah.
Right. But I think more specifically, my parents taught me more about giving back and seeing the good in a lot of people. For example, just very recently, me and my mom went to an orphanage and we were donating food and clothes for the children there. And it's just little things like that. My mom has been taking me to all sorts of charity and works, and it just kind of, for me at least, it kind of molded my understanding of what I could do.
Right.
So I think, that the morality is definitely like one of the key aspects to my personality.
How do you feel hearing this? Like, what did you have in mind? When you, let's say, even when he was just a baby, and every parent has this thing that, like, sort of a vision that this is what I want my son or my daughter to grow up to be. Even if we can make it or not, that's not the point, but we sort of have something in our mind that this is how I want to see them in the future. So just like hearing this and in general, what did you have in mind while you were raising him?
So first of all, I'd like to thank you because, I had no idea what I was getting into, and we just walked in and that was the first question to him.
Yeah.
And I'm pleasantly surprised that he feels that way because we've never really talked about it.
Right.
And the fact that he feels that, we've instilled certain values in him, and he feels responsible, that itself speaks volume. As every parent, for your question, like for every parent, I think parenting is a journey, and we're all new at it, right? You don't know what you're getting into, but I just feel that everybody struggles to be a good parent, and everybody does their best to be the best version of themselves as a parent, because
Right.
even we are learning as we are growing.
Right.
So I'm happy that he feels that way, and I'm happy. Like, I have two children. My daughter is she's already 25. She just finished her master's, and my son, he's here. He's 19, and he goes to college in the U.S. So I feel proud when I see them because they're both good children, and
At least one of them is. Sorry.
well, both of them are. So, when I meet my elders, my parents' friends, or my friends, everybody always has good things to talk
Right.
about my kids. They always, the first thing that they say is, oh, your son saw me somewhere and then he just did this to me, So greeting and respect. And because that also comes a lot from our culture, our value system and all of that, right?
Yeah.
So I've always taught both my children that you need to respect and respect people, whether it's old, young, and only if you respect them, the more you respect them, the more you give love to them, then you're going to get it back.
Right.
So I think that is one value that we've really instilled in them, and we can see that in them because a lot of people come back and say that you have good children, and it really feels good when others come to you and say that you have good children, because for you, your child is always the best, right? But when other people around you also feel that your kids are good, then I think that's ultimate sense of satisfaction for any parent.
Right. So
Only I think so. Okay.
So basically, you get joy out of it or you feel like you've done something right with your
Yes,
kids.
definitely. When you see your kids doing well in life, then you feel like, okay, I've done well. And it's a tricky thing, parenting itself. I mean, you're a parent yourself.
Yeah.
You're a small baby. You'll know. I'm sure every day is a struggle for you because you want to give him the best. But there are times when your child will not understand.
Yeah.
because they are children after
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
So they will not understand. They feel that what you're doing is maybe you're creating too many boundaries, or you're holding them back, or they feel that maybe other children have more than what they have. But I think it's just about knowing what's right for your own child, because again, every child is different, and only a parent, and especially only the mother, will know what her child is all about.
Yeah, the uniqueness of
Yes, your own child.
Yeah. So, what do you feel about the way Vidushi is saying that at times you'll feel that you've put too many, the child will feel like you've put too many boundaries, or that they don't have what other children have. So when have you experienced that in your life, where you felt like, oh, she's being too strict, or my parents are being too strict, or why am I not getting this?
Let me just quickly just say as a disclaimer, I love both my parents, and
yeah.
before I had to say this just before.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
By no means, no one is perfect.
Yeah.
Right now. My mom may be perfect to me, but as a person, no one is perfect, and she gets things wrong. I get things wrong. Everyone gets things wrong.
Yeah.
And it's just it's just a matter of what you decide to take away from certain aspects. Because don't get me wrong, we have our squabbles, I think, right, every once in a while. Right?
Yeah, of course. Every parent and child will have that.
Right.
Yeah.
'Cause
that's a part of every day. In fact,
course.
maybe at least one every day.
Almost, right?
Yeah.
Like a minimum almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it just depends, obviously, on certain aspects and whatnot. But if I feel like she's being unfair, I will tell her that, oh, actually, so and so, you should have done this, or you should have allowed me to do this, or you shouldn't have allowed me to do that, so on and so forth. But as I've gotten older, I think compromise is key in that aspect, because I know my mom has done a lot for me in her life, and I know that I'll try my best to do a lot for her as well. And then when we do disagree, there's always a little bit of compromise, I think, from both of us. As a parent, maybe she is more lenient towards her most of the time, but there is that that middle ground almost that we try and find. That is the point of an argument, right? We try to find this middle ground.
Yeah.
So that's how that's my view on it. If my mom catches on to my strategy now, though, after this podcast, I don't know how to.
she'll be like, I know he'll be ready to, consider. So I'm going to push a little more, for sure.
Yeah,
It's very interesting you bring the word compromise, because I was having this discussion the other day with my friends, and we were talking about some things, some very basic things that led to a much longer discussion. But compromise is more of whether you see it as compromise or whether you see it as consideration. So it's more of from a point of view of perspective. How are you seeing it? So maybe, I'm sure you wouldn't see it ever as a compromise.
Yes.
Whenever you're finding that middle ground.
Yeah, it's not compromise. It's I'm also trying to figure out. He's a teenager, so I'm trying to figure out, and he is a boy, and he's a teenager, and he's growing, and he's studying the US, and obviously there are 10,000 things. Yeah. And the way we grew up and the way the children are growing up today is
a huge difference.
It's a different lifetime altogether. So I try to understand, and I feel that, of course, all of us we feel as parents so much more lenient than what our parents were like when we were growing up, and we feel that that's great. But again, the kids might not feel that because they don't know how we were raised.
Yeah.
So it's an ongoing thing.
Yeah. I hear that from my mom all the time, where she says that it will come back to you as well. You will also feel the same, and your children will also feel the same. Every generation will feel that huge gap in the way they are being raised and the way they were raised. So that is the circle of evolution, or the circle of life. So it reminds me of the teenage kid I had earlier. And she said that sometimes when I have these squabbles and fights with my mom and I find it difficult to forgive her or move on, I just remind myself of the fact that even she is doing it for the first time.
I was about to mention that actually. Yeah, like it's no. I read this quote actually, and it really like changed my perspective. It's technically your parents' first life also, right? It's not just yours. So like how they manage and how they're also going through life for the first time. Yeah. So when you think about it, when you have that thought, it kind of makes sense. Like it kind of tunes down a lot of the other noises and being like, okay, well she does know everything. It's her first life also. So I didn't mean like, I'm not saying that you don't know like everything about it. As in
deep. I'm like very impressed.
Yeah, and usually a lot of, especially when children enter that teenage year, 11, 12, 13, 14, or even till much later, usually there are a lot more expectations from a child's perspective. They're expecting a lot from their parents, and they're always expecting their parents to get it right. And whenever the parents get it wrong, there's no room for forgiveness. A lot of times, of course, in at the back end and internally, everybody loves their parents and vice versa. But just on the surface, there's no room for forgiveness more often than not. So it's interesting to me that you are the second child I'm bringing here who is thinking from a very similar perspective.
Yeah, don't get me wrong though. When we do have our arguments, this thought is gone. But every once in a while, I do remind myself of that also. So.
Yeah. So what brings you? Is it this generation? Because what brings you to this thought process, and how do you even allow for that consideration in your life, and go from just being a child and expecting or over expecting from your parents to start giving them some consideration as well, that this is the first time they are living as well, and they're also living one life,
right?
So it can't just be all about us.
I wish I could give you some very deep answer, but honestly, I just saw a quote on Instagram, and
but it clicked with you.
But 100%, it really clicked with me and was like, okay, that's an interesting point. It more than it kind of like allowed me to see a different perspective, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
From like a different point of view.
And that's what happens, right? The moment you change your perspective, then your actions or reactions will start changing. So maybe after you read that quote, you might not remember it each time in the moment that you are having a squabble, or the times when you really hate her for something. You might not remember it that time, but then it does change the way you will act or react. Maybe as soon as you realize, or when you get out of your fight-flight mode.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting. How do you feel your son talking about all these deep?
I know. I mean, I'm quite amused, and I'm glad that he reads quotes like that in Instagram also. So
it's usually also buried under like a bunch of useless information, but every once in a while you find gold.
Profound.
Yeah.
Nice. So,
sorry. Also, I just want to say that's like another thing. Social media, right?
Yeah.
My mom, I think, is very lenient on social media because she uses it a lot, also. Yeah. But I feel like, from what I have seen, also, social media is like a double-edged sword, if it makes sense, because like it can be very helpful in certain situations and very unhelpful, I guess, in others, right? So more often than not, I feel like it is a little harmful to. Okay, the point I'm trying to get to is that it's hard to connect to children now, I feel like, because
they're exposed to social media.
Because of this, yeah.
That is true.
I feel very old saying this. Right? I'm very pro social media, but like, but I do understand where they come from, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because you know what's going on the other side of it, what you and your friends are, all your peers are looking at in social media, and the kind of exposure and information you're getting.
Exactly. It's harder to like almost connect with people because of it, which is kind of ironic. Yeah. Because social media is for
connection.
Exactly.
Yeah. So why do you say that? How is social media pulling parents and children away from connecting to each other?
It depends. For example, with TikTok, I used to also I was obsessed with TikTok at one point in my life, and because of the format and it's a little hard to explain, but because of the short videoed format and stuff, it's killing people's attention spans. People can't be more attentive than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. I've also felt that way because back in the day I used to love movies. My mom knows this. Any movie that she's like, oh, have you watched this? I've probably watched it. Right. So more recently than not, though, I'm finding a struggle. I find it hard to even focus on movies because of my
because you're taking in so much short content.
Exactly, right? Short version content. So it's hard to
sit for a 2-hour movie. Wow, this is the first time I'm hearing it, but I'm sure it's a lot of kids are feeling that way.
As a mother, now what I'm thinking is, oh shit, is that?
Should I even be allowing him to watch?
Not that. Maybe kids will also feel the same about studying or about doing their homework, about just.
No, that is very true, especially for younger kids, because these kids didn't have so much screen time when they were younger, when they were 2, 3. But now, of course, younger kids have a lot more screen time, and what's happening is because they are spending so much time on the screen or watching these fast-paced cartoons. So just the way he said that short content, what is happening with cartoons is the speed of the time frame per second is increasing a lot. So that is really killing the attention span of kids. And when these kids turn 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's when you start seeing that, oh, now this child just does not have any attention span, or to sit and do their homework, or even to listen in class, or to do anything.
So everything is shortcut, and like he said, the attention span is now 3 seconds, and it's just coming down. Before it was to 10 seconds, and then 7 seconds. Now it's 3 seconds. So even
it's all fast-paced media.
It's all fast-paced, and then even hard work or studying or doing things, they just want it fast.
Instant gratification. Instant gratification.
But that's not how life is. So that means that what they're showing in social media is unreal in a way. But life is completely different. So there's, it'll be difficult to actually come out of Instagram or any of your social media and come out and face the real world, because there's a huge difference between the two. It's not just for them, it's for us also, and for everybody, right?
Yeah. And that's why even for teenagers or even for adults, forget about kids, we like running away to the internet or the social media life the moment something goes wrong, because we can't face reality. So there's a huge difference between the real and the virtual world, and these kids are playing video games all the time because they can control their world in those video games.
Right.
Whereas the moment they come back to reality, it is grades and fights with friends and boundaries with parents. So it's all of that.
Right.
But when they're playing video games, it's a completely different world, and it's a win. It's always a win.
Yeah.
So it's true. Now, are there any debates going on in your head versus your leniency towards social media?
Not really, because I don't think it can be controlled. I never really controlled, because even when he was growing up, I know a lot of parents do a lot of screen time and all of that, but I feel that because I've seen my young cousins with their babies, with their children, and my cousin actually in the US did not let his daughter play with any of the gadgets at all till she was 2, 3, whatever. He didn't let her have any sugar. He didn't let her have salt. It was all controlled.
That sounds a bit like me.
I'll tell you what happens. So that was when I went to US many years back, and then this time again I went to their house, and it started with another daughter's grown up, and now she
does everything.
And then the kind of sugar rush that she has whenever she sees anything sweet, or when her parents are not there, the kind of, the indulgence in social media and all of that, in her gadgets. So I think
you can't control.
Yeah, you cannot control because it's there. How do you control, you know? So I've actually never really controlled him or my daughter, and they're okay. They're not obsessed with it.
Right.
And especially, we have boundaries, when we have family time. It's me, my husband, and both the kids. And I make sure that all our phones are away for that time, because that's the time
after mom's done with her phone only.
Yes. but our phones are all out. No, that's not true.
Yeah. There we go.
So all the four phones are away, and they keep fighting with me. Even my husband, he's like, he's the child, so he keeps seeing it, and then he's like, no, it's an important thing, whatever. I'm like, no, And when my daughter is here, we have a lot of game times. That's the only time when four of us are here, because with both my children away, and both of me and my husband are for we're traveling most of the time, so we're never together as such. But whenever we're together, we make sure that the evenings we are at home, we play games, we put our phones away, and that's the quality time. Or the holidays that when we go to, not always, of course, but at least at restaurants, at dinner tables, I make sure that the phone is away. Like yesterday when we were having dinner with my family, the phones had to be off, because then it's a lot of distraction and you're not really paying attention to the person who's there, but you're more interested in
the phone. That's what's happening now. And also because it's not so much to do with the kids, but it's more to do with the parents.
Right.
Because as parents, we have lost our tolerance for doing a puzzle with our kids, or playing some board games with our kids, or even sitting and watching a movie with our kids. It's usually like, you guys go ahead, watch, do. So.
I mean, it's such a pity that to bond with your own child, or to bond with your own husband, or just to have that quality time, you need to be away from everything and everywhere. It's only when we go for holidays, then that's the quality time that we have as a family. Because if you're here, even if all four of us are here, all four of us are so busy doing our own things that we are never there for each other. But it's only during holidays, even if it's like a 2-day trip, at least even in the car, but then the phone has to be off or whatever. Otherwise, there's no way. Otherwise,
so you have to have those certain rules.
Those rules and boundaries have to be there. It's so difficult, but
how do you balance between this? So you're talking in two facets. One is that I do not like to control my children, or I don't want to control them, because I have accepted that I cannot control, and there's no point in controlling as well. And then there's this other facet that certain boundaries have to be there. So how do you, first of all, even choose what are the boundaries, and what freedom should I allow them, and how do you even balance it?
So Mridula, I think your first question complements the second one. Because I was never really strict with them regarding their gadgets, or regarding their outings, or friends, or partying, or clubbing, or whatever. I didn't really control them. But because of that, they're also responsible.
Right.
So with that kind of freedom also comes responsibility. Like my son, when he goes out partying, when he goes out clubbing at night, I tell him that you need to be home at 2 o'clock, let's say. Then he is always home at 2 o'clock. And even if he's going to come home at 2:10, then he'll send me a message saying, I'm running 10 minutes late.
Right.
But he will be home at 2:10. Okay, so that, and when he's out clubbing, every time I call, I know that he's going to pick up the phone.
Right.
Because he knows. I mean, he's given
Mostly
that freedom.
because I'm scared, but...
Yeah, because he's given that freedom. Well,
exactly.
good that you're scared.
Exactly. I don't want to lose that freedom, right?
Yeah.
So then I have to play by the rules.
Yeah. Because if he says that he's going to come back at 2, and if he comes at 3, and then next Friday he cannot go out.
So there are consequences to it.
Consequences to all. So I think that's how you kind of control.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are a few of my friends who will not let their children go out at all.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, because your grades are bad, so you cannot go out for 3 Fridays, whatever.
That's
a
bit,
Yeah, so I don't do that, but I also expect a lot out of my children, feeling that like I want them to
in
understand.
terms of self-accountability.
Yeah. I want them to understand that they've got that freedom. We've laid a lot of trust on them. And they have to deliver. But tomorrow, if I find out that my son was drunk and then misbehaving or doing whatever, then of course I'll have to put boundaries. But touch wood, I've never faced that, because I know what kind of a child I've raised. I know that, at least in my heart, I know that he'll never really get into a fight, or never do what I have taught him is wrong. I feel as a mother. Yeah. But I don't know.
I feel also what you are saying, that mostly because I'm scared of her and everything that you mentioned, I feel children see it as fear. Because I have been a child once, and I have feared my parents the same way. And sometimes even till today I fear them.
Right.
So children see it as fear, but I think it's more an outcome of love. So there's a whole theory where, because love produces oxytocin. Every time you are giving love, you actually release oxytocin in your body. And when there's enough oxytocin in your body, in a child's body, they don't go around looking for adrenaline. So things like alcohol, things like getting into a fight, things like drugs. So they're not looking for adrenaline when they have enough oxytocin. It is lack of oxytocin that leads to seeking adrenaline. So, for example, if you were to go to a party and if you had a fight just before he was going, saying that, you just went yesterday, or I can't allow you to go for this party, and he's like, no, I have to go because it is my best friend's party, and eventually you have to give up and you send him off saying that, I'm not allowing you, but you're still going for it. Do what you want. The first thing he's going to do...
That's such a scary phrase, by the way. Do what you want is always a trap. To any of the watchers, that's always a trap. But yes, go on, sorry.
So the first thing he's going to do as soon as he enters that party is like look for something that's, going to give him a kick.
Right.
Whereas if the same situation is that, okay, you just went for a party yesterday, I can understand it's your best friend's party and you are going to go, have a good time, but I want you to come back at this time, and I want you to finish all your work tomorrow, but go have a great time. So then he doesn't feel the need to, look for any adrenaline rush anywhere else because he's just so full of, he's so content.
Right.
So I'm just giving you situations, but I feel in the long run, what you are saying, fear.
I have definitely gone through that situation before. Yes, 100%. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it's in all, it's amalgamating into a lot of love, and what you're saying, the way I have raised my children, I don't, I know what he's capable of and what he's not. So I think that is your confidence in the love and connection you have with him.
Yeah, when you talk about love, responsibility also, because he knows that when he's out partying, or when my daughter went out partying, they know that, that's my problem again. I don't sleep till they're back.
Right.
And then no matter what time they come back, they have to tell me that they're back.
Right.
I won't sleep. I'll toss and turn, and I'll keep calling them. And then, you're supposed to be back at 2 o'clock. It's 2:15. How come you're not back?
Yeah.
Not with him, like with my daughter. He comes home at 2 o'clock, and then he'll come and tell me that he is back home, and then only I can sleep. So that's, again, a mother's thing. So I feel in that way they also feel responsible, because obviously he doesn't want his mom not sleeping and tossing and turning around. And, so I think it's also a sense of responsibility towards the parent.
Yeah, you feel that.
Yeah, no, 100%, I think. Yeah.
How do you manage to establish it? I want to know what's the secret behind this, Like, I'm sure all moms want to have that.
No,
instill that responsibility in their kids.
It's just that I just can't sleep. Whether it's my children, whether it's my husband, if they're out and if they're not back home, until they're back home, until they're safe, until they're sleeping in their own beds, I cannot sleep. Yeah. So it's my character.
Right.
And, they have to face that.
I'm just going
actually, sorry. Yes, what she said is 100% true. I know that my mom can't sleep and whatnot. I don't know that from her. I know that from her friends coming up to me and being like, "Hera, तिम्रो मामा त सुत्नै सक्दैन, तिमी बाहिर हो भनेर." So obviously I get guilty also, ni.
Yeah.
I know. So then I guess there's that also. But also to me, let's say my mom gives me a curfew and I have to follow it, right? By following it as a kid, she has more trust in me the next time, right? So because I came back at Pailata when I first started going out, right? She would barely let me stay out till like 11, right? And then because I would come back, I'll be fine. Like I didn't come back home drunk, for example, right? At least to her knowledge. I mean, no, sorry.
I know when you drink.
Oh, well, there you go.
Mom knows everything.
There you go.
A mother
he
knows
has this whole humor of Amir Dai. I'm starting to notice that.
I think my humor is a little bit better than his, though. So like,
yeah, moms know everything. I tell my 5-year-old son things. I can see everything that goes on, even when he's in someone else's house. He's like,
no, I used to think that too, man. Like,
no, you better still believe that, because you know that I know everything.
Like, I can be driving, right? I can be driving and I'll be going a little too fast, and I'll just be like, "Mom will find out about this." So I'll just
especially in Kathmandu.
Oh yeah, Kathmandu is the worst with this.
Yeah, you come home and I was like, "You were driving too fast from Putali Sarak to to Dharmarg." And like, how do you know?
How do you know? Like, what? Exactly.
So I whenever my son asks me, "How do you know?" Because if he's let's say eaten a chocolate, he's allowed chocolates on certain days and stuff, and if he's eaten out of turn, he'll feel so guilty that at some point he will show it in his face.
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
Before he even says it, I'll be like, I'm sure you've eaten a chocolate. He's like, "How do you know?" I'm like, "Because I can see everything from my heart." So now he believes that moms can see everything from their heart.
But
So,
that is true.
I
We have
think it's-
intuitions.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
yeah. It's good to know that he will feel this way even
Yeah,
like 20 years later.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
good to know that. Yeah.
But another reason I think my mom allows me to go out and like is kind of lenient with me, especially. I don't know about my sister. I don't know if you let my Didu go out a lot, I know. But like me, as at least was like because she knows that even if I do go out, I don't drink a lot. I don't like alcohol. I don't like alcohol that
Your
much.
friends are watching this.
No, I know. No, even they will probably agree. Like, I don't like drinking that much, Banum. Like it's like, don't get me wrong, it's fun.
Yeah.
He likes driving more, and he knows that you cannot drink and drive.
Yeah, well,
and-
that's just like
yeah.
a cardinal sin. That's like
Yeah.
rule number one. When I first started learning driving, you can't do that, Banera. So that's I knew already.
So basically, you've gotten her to a point where she trusts you that you will be accountable and responsible, and hence you gain more freedom by gaining that trust.
Exactly.
And which is what
Exactly
she's
that.
saying also, that him I trust, like
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
that. Well, yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you like come to what have you done, like if you go back to thinking in the last 19 years, what have you done? Tell me a few things or moments or a few values that you've instilled to get this product.
As a product, you're referring to me, right? Okay, just making sure. Okay.
No, so much work you need to put in.
Yeah, what have you done? Because he's speaking, I don't know if it's just because of this interview or because of this podcast, but he's sitting here and like he's talking like this really mature person, and not just talking, but you know the way the conversation is going about, it pretty much reflects in his actions also in his daily lives.
Right.
So what all have you done? I'm sure all parents out there, all mothers out there want to know.
I think you just need to work on your child all the time. For me, I mean, for all mothers, right? I mean, your child is your, you love your
Piece of work,
children.
right?
Piece of work.
As
yes.
like piece of artwork, sorry, like
Yeah.
sculpting them and whatnot.
Yeah.
Mote, I'm like,
Oh,
and
yeah. I feel about
artwork.
this
I know,
time,
like
yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
but no, Jose, but
Yeah,
you
you
know.
born like that, right? Of course.
Right, yeah. Sorry, mothers, that's the tip right there. You just have to have an amazing child like myself. So
See, you have it there.
It's like I was born like that.
Yeah.
I was born like
Of
that. That's so not true. Trust me.
Yeah, no,
Being-
100%.
No, just like unconditional love,
yeah.
which all mothers have towards the children. And I think for them, I talk to them a lot because both my children went to boarding school and they were far away. They were in England. But I made sure that every day I talked to them on the phone. I wanted to know what they were doing in life, what time they got up, what did they eat, like, in general, and if they've been going to school, what the classes they liked, have they been doing their homework, all of that. I mean, I'm sure for them it was like, oh my God, this is such a nagging mom, but I had to be there. And, so I've done that throughout. And whenever they're home for their holidays, again, I talk to them a lot. I mean, it could be just a walk in the garden. I remember walking with him in the garden, like, let's say he did something in school, something, whatever, and then I just walk with him at home, and then I try to talk to him about not talking about that incident, but about things around that. And like you said, your 5-year-old son is guilty, and then you'll see it in his face, and then he would tell me himself,
Right.
oh, by the way, Ma, this is what happened, and then I would tell him that, okay, fine, this is what happened, but this is how you should have done it, and how do you feel about it? How do you feel today? And then obviously the child will be like, okay, I feel really guilty, or like I should not have done that. Or, it's just constant talking. Same with my daughter too. Both my children, I talk to them a lot. Like with my daughter, she's in the US now, and almost every day we talk for an hour about
Wow.
things. And it's so easy nowadays because even if they're away in distance, I mean, again,
have all the technology.
has made it so easy that you know exactly what you're doing. And in fact, I just dropped him to college last year when he turned 18, and that was the time when he said that I'm now a matured person and I'm all grown up and I'm an adult, and I don't want you to be looking at my results. I don't want you to be looking at anything. I'm an adult. And my husband and my daughter said, yeah, that's true, Ma. True. I mean, you're just spoon feeding him too much. Now let him be. And this is the first year that I just let him be. And, I would just even call him and just ask about like random things, but never like really been there like how I used to be. And I realized that that's not how it should be. I should be a mother unless and until I feel that he is responsible enough to be on his own. Yes, he's 19.
Yeah.
But as a mother, I still need to be there for him to be certain that, his turns out to be the man he's supposed to be when he goes out of college.
Yeah.
So I've told him that now that you're going back to college, second year, I'm going to be there again. I'm going to be looking at your results. I'm going to be there after you. I'm not an American mom. I'm sorry, yes, you're an adult, but, I'm an Asian mom. So I need to be there, and I need to know everything, and I need you to pick up the phone, and I have the 360 whatever thing.
Life.
And and I want to know where you are.
Yeah.
And he's okay with that. So, I mean, also the fact that he's okay with it,
Yeah.
And so many other kids would have said, no, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I don't want to whatever. So I feel that I'm blessed. I have good kids. So they understand that where I'm coming from.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's a great thing.
And in all honesty, kudos to your motherly instinct that despite your husband and daughter supporting it the other way around, you came back to the conclusion that, no, I have to be there. Because coming from a professional, your brain is still not completely developed, at least unless you're like somewhere between 23, 25. And for boys, it develops a bit later. So the frontal part of the brain, which is the decision making, taking good decisions, so the whole executive functioning, it's still a bit underdeveloped.
Wow, so you got it from the professional.
Are you saying
That she should be watching over you in the same way?
I don't have any, anything as bad,
so
anything
much.
terrible, is just because my brain hasn't been developed yet?
Yes, I'm saying
I
that.
will use
yes.
that excuse
Yes. Yes.
every day now.
And she's a professional.
Oh,
and
there you go. And my mom is here as well, so I can use that.
So she is
Okay,
saying that
perfect.
until you're 24, I have to be behind you to make sure.
I'm saying both
that-
things.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
You know what?
I'm
That's
saying
that's
both.
it. That's an equal trade. We both got like a weapon we can fire at each other now after this.
So I'm saying both things. She needs to still be constantly watching you, seeing you, guiding you, at least until you're 24, 25, because so it takes about 21 to 25 years.
I see.
And it's a bit sooner for girls, a bit later for boys, but depends from, it's very specific to individuals.
Yeah.
So it's more like, when you are younger, you're basically, if you take the example of, let's say you're flying a plane, so you are basically the pilot and your child is just sitting in the passenger seat. As your child grows older towards the teenagers, they start co-piloting with you, but you are not giving them any controls. As they are 15, 16, you start giving them some form of control to the plane, but you are still sitting beside them to, take over whenever they go wrong. And as they turn 19, 20, they're piloting the plane on their own, but you're still in the watchtower, watching every move, and whenever they fall, whenever they go wrong, you're there to immediately suggest or guide them. So that's the...
As an expert, actually, I wanted to talk about this. Actually, what do you think on like parents' views? This is also a question to my mom, obviously, on like dating and like, on relationships with significant others. Like,
Are you asking me?
yeah,
on a
what do you
podcast?
have to say?
Yeah, like a little bit. I know.
No, I feel like because I started dating when I was 16, so I'm completely open, of course. My daughter started dating when she was 16, and she still has the same boyfriend, and then she's going strong, and it's going perfect. So dating is very healthy, like any friendship. Like for me, whether it's a friend, whether you're dating, whatever, that person has to bring value to the person that you are.
Right.
Because let's say you're dating somebody who doesn't have the same value system as you do. It's completely different or completely negative, or that person is not into studying, into college, into, like, let's say for example, I would honestly, I'd be very unhappy if he's dating somebody who doesn't have a good value, who's not going to college, who's not doing the right thing, But I would be very happy if he's dating somebody who adds value to the person that he is or is going to become. If it's going to be a good, if she's going to compliment him and he's going to compliment her, then nothing like it. Because for my daughter,
But what if she's really pretty? No, sorry.
no, no, because my daughter is dating this guy, and then they've been dating for almost how many years now?
Too long.
Yeah, too long, 8, 9 years. And then they compliment each other so well. And I mean, it's joyful to see that, because
Yeah.
I know whatever my daughter doesn't have, he has, and whatever he doesn't, my daughter compliments. So I really genuinely wish that he would find somebody like that, who would be a good positive.
And since this is going on YouTube, I'm single. Hello. Sorry, okay.
All the girls out there.
Just saying.
Yeah.
If you match the description my mom just said, like, I'm here.
Just
ping me. Just
yeah,
ping me.
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, any relationship is about growing with each
Yeah.
other and learning from each other, right? Even
Yeah.
not just dating, even like getting married or no matter what relationship you are in, even friendship for that matter.
Yeah.
So, it is about growing together, it is about learning from each other, not pulling each other down in any way. And the only thing you need to keep in mind is, when you are 19, you feel very adult-like because you have left home, you've gone away to university. I mean, you anyway grew up in a boarding school, but even otherwise. And there's a lot more freedom in all aspects. The whole world is out there. You feel very adult-like, but you need to keep reminding yourself that you're still not an adult. You still have a few more years to go before you can, completely take all those decisions on your own. So that's the only thing you need to keep in mind, not just dating, before doing anything for that matter.
I actually made my own dentist appointment the other day, and that felt pretty adult. So I think that's my
So you're getting,
that's my threshold currently.
this is all like, I feel like this is all therapy. She's a professional.
therapist, yeah. Right. Yeah. I understand.
But you seem to have gotten it all, like, so far so good. Yeah.
I think so. I like to think so, at least. So.
Yeah. No. And, the way I see it, it's also like all the work you've done in the last 19 years, it's only going to pay forwards. So that's the work.
Yeah, touch wood,
Touch wood.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. I'm sure you've seen it with your older child, and
Yeah.
now you'll see it with him as well. And you are already seeing it as it goes. So but parenting will go on lifelong for
Right,
sure.
true.
Yeah. At least in my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you still scared of your parents? Like,
I'm very scared of my
Okay.
mom. I'm very scared of him. So I wouldn't say I'm scared of my dad.
yeah.
But every time my mom's phone rings,
I'm like,
my husband still looks at me. He's like, why are you so? Not that she's done anything.
Every time my mom calls, my heart sinks for a second. I'm just like, oh no, what's happening? Like,
What have I done?
Yeah,
wrong?
literally.
I'm just joking. I'm exaggerating it a little bit. But again, when you say scared, it's not just scared. It's more of respect.
Yeah,
So-
I think so also, but because I know when I'm scared, like, it's different.
Yeah.
Like, it's a different, like,
emotion, yeah.
more than emotion, I guess emotion also, but like a feeling. Me especially, I have a very sensitive stomach.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I have terrible, like.
Yeah. So you feel it in your gut.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and scared, respect usually does come out in the form of fear, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So that's what she said in the beginning. No, thank God you're scared. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess there's respect also in that way.
So all this is now. Like now, you've understood so many things, and you're understanding things from her perspective as well. But what about like in your growing up years? When you were 11, 12, 13. If you go back to it, think about like maybe one such instance or few such instances where you found it really challenging to be Vidushi's son.
Oh, I got a list on my phone. No, I'm kidding. Ooh, interesting.
I don't think none.
Like, because you put me in a very terrible position right now. Like, I'm walking on eggshells.
None. You were a pampered baby before you went to boarding school. I don't think there's one instance.
No, obviously.
No, I'm sure from his like
let's hear back.
Obviously, when I look back, right, in like my younger years, my younger teenage years, I guess. I look back at it more fondly than I don't.
Right.
Right. So obviously there was definitely instances like Also,
Say it. It's okay.
no, I can't think of like specific specific, but like I know that there are like certain times that like I'll just be like I'd be frustrated that things didn't go my way, for example, or frustrated because mom couldn't see my point of view, right? Because she's so like she's very strong-minded as a person, as an individual. She's very like she chugs at something like even like until she gets it done, like like always, right? Unfortunately, it has some drawbacks, right? So like it means that sometimes I can't really
get your way,
get my way, or more than that, like I can't get her to see my way also sometimes.
Right.
That would only be that's like the main thing, I think. But obviously, like I remember one time. I remember one specific time. I really wanted to go to watch this movie with my friends, and I think something had happened like right before. I don't know what it was, but you were really mad at me. So obviously, like in my head, right, I was like, okay, I have to ask because I really want to go, right? So I'd ask her, and then she'd be like, let's just go down, like, right? Because she's so mad at me. Like, no, you're grounded. Or she never technically grounded me, but like, like, oh, you can't go, esta. And yeah, it was frustrating, obviously, but it was just like one day, right? Yeah, so it just passes. Yeah. More recently, like if we argue, I don't know if mom has started to notice this, but like I kind of just go silent because I need her to understand, like explain her side of the story, because she needs to do that, like so that she feels content that like I have heard what she wants to hear, and then after that, if I have anything to say, then I would. That's how I've decided to handle being Vidushi Rana's son, basically.
Yeah, that's what we do, because before we used to like both of us would talk and nobody was listening. So now it's gone to a point where like he knows that when I'm talking, he's just supposed to listen to everything that I say.
Yeah,
and
even,
he has to
even
listen.
if I don't agree with it, I still have to listen.
He has to listen,
which
to
is
what I'm
fair.
saying. Yeah.
Which is fair.
And then when he's talking, I listen without interrupting. So at least then we argue whatever, but. Because there has to be a let out.
But how do you even get him to understand that much? Like, how do you get
trial
him to
and error? Like a lot of trial and error.
lot of trial and error.
From my part, at least. I don't know about her, but yeah, from my part, trial.
So
and error.
you're learning as you're going along,
right?
Learning, yeah. And what is the one thing you would say that you have picked up, from her that makes you her son? That like I'm so similar to her in that aspect.
I'm super attractive. No, sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know where that came from.
Good genes.
Yeah. She's very I'm not sure she used to be like this, but she's very confident now, right? With every aspect in her life. Yeah. Maybe that's because she's grown as a person and whatnot. But just seeing her as a confident human being, like she doesn't care if whatever, she'll go talk to anyone. Right. Like my mom's talking to ministers of this country and stuff, and I'm like, what? You know what I mean? Like, what? And she oozes this confidence. So I think the one thing that I have taken away from, at least, is this confidence. More than just confidence in like just in confidence just in general, but like more so confidence in myself. Sometimes that turns into overconfidence, but that's the drawback, I guess.
And you can always check yourself, and I guess that is also something you must have learned, because I've always seen her, how much, for whatever time I've known her, I've always seen her as a very grounded and modest person, I would say. So I'm sure you would have taken that as well. Yeah.
Modesty is
relative.
Relative, right, yes.
Yeah. So I also sense confidence. Definitely, you've taken it from her. But as you're speaking about her, I also sense this pride, a feeling of
pride.
Like you feel proud of her. So I'm also sensing that. The more you're speaking
100%.
of, I'm
Every
sensing
day.
it with, yeah.
Yeah, every
So
day, Tete.
what I want to know is, like growing up with, of course, you've always been working in some aspect or the other, and you've been moving forward with your career life. So that would also mean being away a lot. And in your growing up years, how do you handle that absence to sort of see her more as a role model than someone who's missing from my life?
No, exactly. What I did was, in fact, when I was pregnant with him, I was
Yeah.
working at Kumari Bank.
Yeah.
I was the branch manager, and I had to, handle a lot of things. And then after I had him, then I had my 3 months maternity leave, and then I came back to work. I went back to work, and then, I left a 3-month-old baby at home, and I was like pumping milk in the office, filling up bottles, sending it back with the driver, and then, just labeling the bottles and all of that. And I worked for around, like, I don't know, less than a month.
Right.
I would just go every morning. I would be disheartened to leave this little baby boy at home and go to office, and then lunchtime I'd come back again, breastfeed the baby, go back again, come back at 5. So I was just feeling so guilty, and I think it was
she didn't feel guilty for you, Banratse?
no, that time I was not even working.
Yeah, okay.
So I think around 18, 19 days, I was like, what am I doing? Why am I even doing this? I don't need to do this. I need to enjoy being a mother. I want to be with that baby. And why am I putting this pressure on me to be away from the baby? So I just wrote a resignation letter to the CEO. And then I said, I'm sorry, I cannot come from tomorrow. And then I just left. And then I was a stay-home mom for 10 years.
Wow.
Because that's the time, because I really wanted to spend time with my 2 children, and I've given them, like, I've been a helicopter mom. So they didn't have this mother. It's only after they went to boarding school, then that's when I felt like I had to go back to work. And so I have no guilt as such, because I was 100% stay home, helicopter Asian mother.
And then
But it's amazing how you took that decision to
Yes.
just quit.
Just quit, because it's just the love for your child that you
Yeah.
feel like,
Yeah.
why you're away
Yeah.
from,
Yeah.
you know.
And to each his own. Like, you felt that so strongly, and you
that I
just
had to
took
leave.
action.
And I know that so many mothers don't
Yeah.
have, that privilege to
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
leave. And my heart really goes out to them, because every mother wants to spend their
Yeah.
every minute, every second with the child that,
Yeah.
with them. But I mean,
Yeah, that is one aspect of it.
Yeah.
And of course, like somebody who doesn't have that privilege, they don't have a choice.
Right.
But then there's this other aspect where a lot of mothers do have the choice, but there's always this battle between
Right.
doing something for myself
Yeah.
in my career versus being present for my child.
Right.
So there's always this battle. And then there's also always this hope that, my child will be also able to see me as a role model, even if
Yeah.
I'm missing and even if I'm not spending enough time with my child, he'll learn from it, and he'll like learn different things from it. So, yeah. But it's amazing that, you were able to just, like he said, strong-headed. You were able to just like decide and be like, no, this is what I want
He's
to do.
He's right, because I'm a Capricorn. So when I make up my mind, it's
Yeah.
like, I'm like a bihara, I just do what.
I never like understood astrology. Astrology, yeah.
Yeah.
Bihara-
astrology.
what is bihara in English?
Ram.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you said Capricorn, so it seemed like the logical jump.
So what are the few, lessons that you've learned from your parenting journey that, you'd like to share with the rest of us, and especially for the younger generation now? Because as you're saying, it keeps changing over time, and even
Yeah.
now parenting is so different from what it
Yeah.
was for you. So
Right.
what are the few key lessons that you would like to share with
So
everyone?
many things, because even for my parents, I feel that when they were raising me and my brother as children, they probably felt that they were doing so much more than what their parents had ever done for them, right?
Yeah.
So for them, they thought that this was the best way to raise children. And for us, we feel that, okay, that was not the best way to raise children, because the way you were strict, or you were, and that maybe that's not the way. And then the way we're raising our children, maybe they'll, 100% they won't feel the same thing. They'll feel that, okay, I have to be a different kind of a
Yeah.
parent. But I think every generation does the best that they know.
Right.
The best that they, in their capacity. But of course, there are certain things that you take from every generation. There are a few things that are very, very important to each family culturally, which you pass on to your generations. For me, the most important thing was respecting your elders. And not just elders, everybody. That is very, very important.
Just having mutual respect for each other.
Mutual respect. The fact that, you have to be kind is another very important thing. The fact that you have to give back because you're privileged, because you have so much. You learn to give back to people who don't have as much as you. And another very strong value that, of course, my parents gave to us and I'm trying to inculcate in both of them is that education is the most important thing because we are here today and we're at a certain position, but tomorrow it might not be the same thing, right? You might just be on your own and you have to take care of yourself. So there's nothing other than education. So me and my husband, as soon as both the children were born, we were sure that we're going to give them the best of education, whatever that means.
Right.
So many people will just save up for their future by buying maybe land and share and whatever. And we've told our children that we don't have anything of that sort. What we are going to give you is stellar college education, school education, whatever, and it's up to you to make it or break it. Right? So education is the most important. It's the key.
Basically investing in the education rather than anything else.
Yeah. So for both our children, we've invested in their education, and then our hope is that they realize that value and then, become the person that they're supposed to be with that kind of education, that kind of exposure, because that's the only thing that's going to take them to greater heights, nothing else.
So, yeah, that's the best investment you can make for your children as well. Yeah.
Your love, your time, and them in return their education.
Just enriching them and making them capable enough to fend for themselves, whatever comes.
Because the parents are not going to be there forever, and then they have to fend for themselves. And the only way they can is with a good education.
Yeah, that is so important. And I feel today more and more parents are realizing that, and most parents I come across do want to, even professionally, most of the parents I come across, they want to invest everything they can in their children's education rather than anything else.
Right.
Yeah. So, also like I when I called you for the podcast, one of the questions I was wondering is, how does it feel being a son to such a prominent figure? Because it plays out in your social life with your peers.
It kind of sucks, I'll be honest. Like, it kind of sucks. I mean, no, don't get me wrong. I'm super proud of my mom for being who she is and whatnot. But it kind of sucks because, like, she's, like, famous. Like, I didn't know this until, like, she's, like, people know her, right? So it's like, it's a little weird, right? Because more than me being Suryaditya Rana, right? I'm Vidushi Rana's son, or Amir Rana's son, right? For me, like in a lot of occasions, that comes before Suryaditya Rana, and then with that, right? There's like certain things that there's certain standards that I need to uphold to, right? Also, another thing that kind of sucks is that like. Everyone's their fan, right? So like, if I go talk to someone new and they'll be like, "Oh my God, you're Vidushi Rana forever," like, okay, that kind that kind of sucks. Like I remember one time I got a text from this model, and I was like, "What? This is so cool!" Like, maybe I'm just like that, whatever. But like, "Oh, are you Vidushi Rana's son?" But and I was like, "Okay, yeah, well, I guess, But other than that, it's quite cool. It's quite interesting. Like, I'm seeing my mom, like, turn into like this huge deal. Like this like in our well, for me especially, because like I know everything that she's doing, I think, and like the way that she's reached so like certain heights is quite incredible to see, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So has she influenced your career choices in any way?
I don't think she hasn't.
Okay.
I don't think she hasn't.
Also, I think because he saw me as a stay-home mom when he was growing up.
Right.
And suddenly now that he was in boarding school and he came back, suddenly I'm working, and
like,
I think he see a different
yeah, exactly.
side.
Different side.
Yeah. But are you motivated, inspired, in your own life, in terms of your career specifically? That okay.
What do you mean by that?
So this is what my mom does, and this is what she's doing out there every day. These are the heights she's achieving for herself. Has that influenced you in any way?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna reach even higher for sure. That's just yeah. Yeah, I think so. Especially like mom and dad. I think in this
and sister. She just
he's not going to admit that.
She just,
I can't. Like as the law of a sibling, I cannot admit that.
Okay.
Not on camera. Yeah, especially not. I can love her behind the scenes, whatever. But on camera, I have to be nasty to her. So yeah. But yeah, no, 100%. I like my mom used to always be worried, Paila, because whenever people would ask me, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?" I wouldn't really have an answer, right? But when I look back even further, like this was during my teenage years, like what do you want to be when you grow up? But when I look back even further, my main goal was to become like my parents, become like my grandparents, right? They're influential people. They're big people. They've worked hard to reach where they have, where they are right now, or where they were. So in that aspect, yes. Also, like obviously, they've advised me to do like certain things, of course, and it's led to the trajectory, my path, like the path that my life has gone on to. So,
and in terms of personal development, like how has she inspired you? As a person, you did mention that you hold very high moral values and all that comes from your parents. But in specific, Vidushi di
personality,
yeah,
I think just again caring. I like to consider myself caring, even if that does sound kind of cocky. Whatever, I like to think of myself as like a person that gives back, a person that is nice, right? Like that's at the end of the day, that's what I want to be. Like I want people to be like when people remember me, I want them to think of a few things. He's funny because that's kind of important to me. He's kind and he's nice, right? Like if that's what they remember about me, then that's what I hope.
I'm feeling so good hearing these teenagers say these things because. On multiple occasions, I've heard multiple people talk the same way.
Right.
And I thought it was just that person or it was just that kid.
Right.
But it's nice to see a pattern.
Yeah.
Nice. So the teenagers these days are
also
good people.
Also like one thing is, you know how I said like, oh, I want people to remember me for blah blah blah.
Yeah.
More generally, I want people to remember me. Like, if they met me, right, they should have been like. In like a few days later, I'm like, oh my god, that guy was kind of cool. Or like if somebody mentions my name or something, they'll be like, oh yeah, I met him. Like, he's super nice. And that's the main idea for me personally. I also think of myself as quite a colorful person, as in like I'm quite bold with like a lot of things I say. I don't really keep silent. I like to talk. I like to explain. I like to be involved a lot of the time, more often than not. And just some of the decisions I make and some of the things I do. Okay, like one time I remember I wore the most outrageous outfit on a night out. Right, like it was horrible. Like I don't know why mom would let me out like that. I don't know why my friends would be like, yo, why are you hanging out with us looking like this, right? But then the next week I told them, yeah, but now everybody knows me, right? Like, oh, he's like, okay, maybe whatever, like he's a little goofy, like wearing wild clothes and wackiness and whatever. But after that night, people remembered me, right? So I guess that's another thing that my mom and I share. I think we do it like in different ways, obviously.
Yeah, in your own unique way, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you just being you in your own unique way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that like need to kind of be remembered,
Yeah, you can resonate with it.
No, I'm just learning so much more about my son at this podcast.
Well, this is probably good for us, huh? Yeah.
It's interesting to me because the other day another teenager said to me that, I just want to be nice. I want to be kind because why would I want to be a bad memory in someone else's life?
Yes,
Exactly.
yeah.
So, and to be honest, my personal mission is to, in whatever way I can ensure that the next generation that is coming up to be adults are kind, evolved people. Then
Right.
you won't have to go around changing the world. If
Right.
if we can invest enough
Yeah.
in making children kind and evolved, then we'll not have to go around changing adults.
Right.
And I feel like I can already see that happening.
I think
So-
it's also because parents invest a lot on the
Yeah.
children right now because you just have one child or two
Yeah,
maximum,
yeah.
3 at the most. So I think parents are and both parents are investing
Yeah.
a lot on the children, unlike before. So I think that this
Yeah, and it's a lot of conscious parenting
Right.
that I can see reflect here. It's a lot of intentional that this is, how I want my
Yeah.
children to be, or these are the values that I want them to uphold. So a lot of conscious parenting. And then in order to do that, at least I have realized as a parent and even professionally, in order to do that, you have to work a lot on yourself.
yeah, totally.
So I'm sure over the years you have been growing as a parent as well, and you've been continuously working on yourself to be able to give that to your children.
Of course, you're forever learning and evolving yourself as a parent, as a human being.
Yeah.
Because
changing
again,
so many things in
yeah,
yourself to be able to,
Right. Yeah.
raise your children the way you wanted to raise
Of
them.
course.
So what is the one thing that you've learned from him, from Suryaditya, growing up, while you were growing? What is the one thing that he has taught you?
This is gonna be really sad, if you don't come up with anything.
No, I think his like everybody loves him. I mean, when people meet him for the first time, because he's got that aura, that energy about him. I mean, he's a happy-go-lucky person, and he's like this with older people, younger people, babies, whoever. Yesterday we were with cousins, and they had small children from the U.S., and he was playing with them, and they were so happy to be in his with him. And he can have the same kind of conversation with their dads or their moms or their grandfathers also. So he's very kind that way. In fact, a friend of mine, she lost her father-in-law, and then I told him that I'm going to go meet her because she lost her father-in-law, and then out of nowhere, he's like, maybe I should also go meet the grandmother because I've seen her a couple of times, so I should go and meet. And then I was like, that's so sweet. And then he actually went and met with the grandmother and sat with her, and she was very happy because she never expected him to go there and spend time. So I think he's got that. He's very kind. And he's very good with people, and that's the best part about him. That's what molds him to be who he is.
That's amazing.
More than that is I just have always an uncontrollable need to talk to new people, right? Like it's almost like my friends are always annoyed by this, especially in the UK. Let me tell you an example specifically. There are a bunch of people that I made friends with on just a random day, just because I thought I made the conscious decision to go talk to them, right? And then now some of them are now pretty close friends and whatnot, right? So with that mindset, I like to meet new people all the time. And it's also really interesting to me because obviously there are some people that I just cannot I'm not compatible with, their line of thinking is completely different from mine and whatnot. But even then, even when I meet people like this, it's interesting to me because oh wow, this kind of person exists on this planet, right? It's just a little fascinating that way. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's just a people's person. In fact, I just remembered one incident where my cousin in London had taken him out to a pub to watch football game, whatever, and then he said that in the pub they got the last seat because it was already full, and then everybody there were construction workers wearing their green jacket, whatever, and they were behind, and there was a screen, and it was playing football, whatever. And then in around 10-15 minutes, my cousin was just looking around for him. And then he had just gone and made friends with all those construction workers. And with few of them, he was just doing cheers and having beer when he was 16. And
It's
then,
legal then. Sorry, I
Yeah,
just want to
yeah.
reiterate.
it is legal to drink in London, I mean, a pint of beer, whatever. And then, so after like 15-20 minutes, he called my cousin and then he said, okay, come here. And then, we got the front seat because he'd already made friends with all of them.
Oh.
So he really likes to make friends. He's a people's person, totally.
So that's your forte.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
And amazingly, like, it's also so subconsciously taken from your parents, a lot of it.
I think so.
Yeah.
My dad is kind of similar. My mom also, I think, I'm sure she wasn't like this originally, but she definitely grew into, like being, like having the confidence enough to talk to, like, And I think, well, some people call it like, like being like an extrovert, right? Being like, just like outgoing and whatnot. I think it has a little bit more to do than just that. Because you can be an extrovert and you can choose the decision like to like not like just meet every single person.
Yeah.
Again, I don't meet every single person because I feel like that's gonna be exhausting. But
Yeah.
More often than not, I'll probably come up to you, right? Like and just in a party, for example, like I don't know why if party specifically, but like just like if you're there and I've come up to you, I'd probably like have at least like a small conversation with you just to see like your vibe as a human being and like if I mess with you or not. And that comes from like more than being an extrovert, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a very specific trait.
Right? Yeah.
And a lot of times maybe, when you watch people in your lives being that way or doing that way and you sync with it, then you tend to be that way. Yeah. It makes me very hopeful, like this entire conversation and just getting to know you better and your perspective just makes me very hopeful because one, we get to hear so much of, teenagers are going around doing this, teenagers are just not listening. Nowadays children are way more entitled. They don't have enough responsibility. So there's a lot of that talk and conversation going on. And, I'm starting to think it is very one-sided.
Right.
Because they are responsible teenagers and, who are raised in good families but also not entitled, do not feel entitled. So it's nice to hear this. And also, as a mom, even raising a 5-year-old or no matter what age, every time your child does something wrong, you start looking way into the future and thinking, oh, this is how he's going to be when he grows up. So, for example, even if, he hits a child now, I'm like, no, oh man, what if he turns out to be somebody who's fighting all the time or like being involved in fights? So as a mom, all moms are very scared, and I'm sure you would have gone through that. And this is also what I tell moms, that please do not think fast. Do not fast forward into the future because your child is not going to be who he is right now. This is just a kid.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see the outcome. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed this conversation, and thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing all your experiences.
This is my first podcast, by the way. This is yeah. So
How was it for you? Did you have a good time?
Yeah, 100%. It was like Mom said, it was pretty therapeutic.
Yeah, it was, right?
Yeah. I quite enjoy it actually. It's quite fun. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I mean, this didn't even seem like a podcast, just that we have this on, but it's just like having a drawing room conversation. And like you said, it was more like a therapy. And thank you so much. I feel like I got to learn my son better also, in a way. And
I feel inspired. I feel inspired by you, and it's
my
there's a lot
relationship
to
with him.
take. Yes, because I have a single child, and I'm not going to have any more kids, and my relationship is just so it's the first time I have actually sat down with a mother-son duo and actually funnily talked so much in depth.
So how do you feel, because you have a son? And
I feel very so I really enjoy my time with him, and I love being his mom, and I love this whole parenting journey, so I really enjoy it. It's one of the best things
Right.
for me. So I feel really, I'm looking forward. I really look forward to him growing up, and I'm just excited, looking forward. So
All the
that's
best to you, and I'm sure it's going to turn out perfectly
Yeah,
okay
yeah.
with a mom like you. And
Yeah.
yeah, all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Vyas Media Network.